Does it hurt you that she's around your children?
It does not hurt me, no. More than anything, I go into protective mode. Like, I'm never going to trust someone who adored my family setup so much that they worked their ass to come between it. Of course, with the help of him, but still.
Hey, our children are perfectly fine.
Like I said, for me, knowing that they are around someone who has said such nasty and vile things about their mother and about
when all those babysitters that you had, 11 babysitters
who said multiple things
you know
about their father.
11
See how
babysitters.
he defends her? He's bringing up something directly at me when I'm talking about a person who has, for years, as he knows, tried to torture and come in between our marriage, DMing me. See, he knows all of those things, and I could keep going. So when he sits there and tries to defend, how dare you?
Oh my goodness, you will not believe what's happening in the world of love and marriage, Huntsville. The tea is scalding hot today because Carlos King, yes, the Carlos King, has finally broken his silence, and trust me when I tell you, he is spilling everything about Martell. After keeping quiet for what felt like forever, dodging questions left and right while all this drama was unfolding, the absolute king of reality TV is finally letting loose. And what he's revealing about Martell has the entire love and marriage Huntsville fandom in complete shock. Now, if you've been following this mess like I have, you already know that Martell and Melody's relationship has been nothing but pure chaos. Their marriage, which we all watched crumble right before our eyes, ended in the messiest, most dramatic divorce after Martell got caught doing what he shouldn't have been doing, if you know what I mean. And just when we thought, okay, surely this is as messy as it can get, honey, Martell said, hold my drink, and took things to a whole new level of shocking. We're talking revenge plots, leaking private information, and the kind of toxic behavior that had fans absolutely losing it. But here's where it gets juicy. Carlos King isn't just any regular TV producer. He is the mastermind who brought us Love and Marriage Huntsville. He's the genius who brought this entire cast together and has literally seen every single bit of this drama unfold right in front of his eyes. So when he finally decided to share his thoughts about Martell and this whole situation, child, you know it was about to get real.
Life is good, God is good, okay? So, in case you missed the other live earlier, I need a bag, so I had to... So, in real life, I always call Marlo, okay? I always call Marlo when I'm out shopping because she is my person. So, you know, y'all get a chance to see who I am in my real life, not stuff you hear about.
Let me tell you why this is such a big deal. For months, and I mean months, fans have been desperately waiting for Carlos to say something, anything. But there was one tiny problem. He literally couldn't. As the host of those intense reunion specials and the show's executive producer, Carlos was basically gagged by contract. He had to stay neutral during filming and keep his real opinions under wraps. It's just how the industry works, darling. Reunion hosts, especially those pulling strings behind the scenes, have to play it cool and just facilitate the drama without picking sides. But that silence? Oh, it only made people more suspicious. Viewers were getting frustrated, wondering why Carlos, who we all know never shies away from calling out messy reality TV moments, wasn't saying a word about Martell's behavior. Some people were even saying he was protecting Martell, while others were convinced he was just waiting for the perfect moment to drop the truth bombs. And honey, that moment has finally arrived. Now that those reunion episodes are officially done and dusted, Carlos is not holding back one single bit. He's giving us his raw, unfiltered take on all the messiness between Martell and Melody, and let's just say, Martell might want to grab a seat for this one.
Stop being the victim all the time.
Ooh,
it gets on my nerves.
So everybody just heard everything Martell said.
No,
and Martell said I'm playing the victim.
I wish one day people will see the person that you really are. You throw all the damn stones and hide your hands and be the victim. Because when we start going through stuff, I told you what you weren't doing in the marriage.
Now, darlings, let me take you back a minute because you need to understand why this is absolutely explosive. The breakup between Martell and Melody was already one of the most talked about splits in reality TV history, but what pushed everything over the edge was what Martell allegedly tried to do to Melody's reputation after their divorce. For years, this man could not accept that his marriage was over. Instead of moving on like a grown adult, he seemed determined to make Melody pay for leaving him. He kept taking these nasty little jabs at her parenting, making these shady comments about her personal life, and trying to act like he wasn't the one who destroyed their marriage. But then, and this is where it gets really dark, the revenge allegations started coming out and everyone was absolutely stunned. According to reports, Martell allegedly had some explicit content involving Melody and was threatening to leak it. Now, whether he was actually going to do it or just using it to scare her, nobody knows for sure, but just the fact that these accusations existed was enough to make everyone's jaw drop. Poor Melody, who was already dealing with all of Martell's public attacks, was devastated. She handled it with such grace, though, refusing to let him control the narrative. And the fans, baby, they came for Martell hard. One person said, and I quote, "Martell is the definition of a bitter ex. He's doing everything he can to tear Melody down because she's happy without him." Another fan went off saying, "This man had the nerve to cheat, ruin his family, and still thinks he's the victim. Melody deserves peace, not this." The situation was already completely out of hand, but what Carlos King just revealed about Martell's mindset, Chile, it's even more disturbing than we thought.
Listen, this show means a lot to Melissa in a very different way of what it means to Teresa. I think, to your point, listen, I think anybody who watches the show can see that Melissa wants to be the top dog, and she has trouble with Teresa constantly winning in the end. And this, I'm gonna tell you, it was the season where Danielle Staub, one of my favorites of all time.
Yes,
it was the season where Danielle Staub, unfortunately, Melissa, like, Teresa told me to pull the hair. What I saw was this excitement of Melissa getting the tea. Like, well, she did what? And I think in Melissa's mind, she was like, "Oh baby, it's going down."
Let me tell you what happened when Carlos sat down with Dustin Ross, because honey, he didn't just react, he brought receipts and gave us a whole psychological breakdown. They analyzed Martell's pattern of behavior, and it became crystal clear that this wasn't just about a bitter ex-husband acting out. Carlos exposed Martell's entire history of revenge-seeking behavior, and when I tell you, he broke it all the way down. One of the biggest red flags Carlos pointed out, and this is so important, was Martell's get-back mentality. Instead of owning up to his mistakes like a grown man, Martell always goes on the attack, doing whatever he can to make Melody look just as bad as him. And Carlos made it clear, this isn't just toxic, it's dangerous. It's the kind of behavior that keeps drama going long after everybody else has moved on with their lives. But if you thought that was everything, hold on to your seats, because there was one moment that really showed just how far gone Martell is. When given the chance to apologize, just a simple "I'm sorry" would have done wonders. What does he do? He doubles down. Even when faced with cold, hard facts, even when given the perfect opportunity to show some remorse, Martell refused to take any real responsibility. He just brushed everything off, deflected blame, and kept on justifying his actions like it was perfectly normal behavior. And Carlos? He made sure to shut down any hope of Martell redeeming himself real quick. He told Martell straight up that his behavior isn't just destroying his relationship with Melody, it's absolutely demolishing his reputation and making him look like the villain in everyone's eyes. And you want to know the craziest part? Martell didn't even seem bothered. But wait, because there's another layer to this drama that nobody saw coming. Carlos brought up something absolutely fascinating. What if Martell's biggest issue isn't even with Melody? What if the person he's really bitter about is Marcel? Think about it. There's been this complete Freaky Friday situation happening in Love and Marriage Huntsville. A few years ago, Martell was on top of the world. Beautiful wife, perfect family, thriving career. Meanwhile, Marcel and Tisha were still trying to find their footing. But now, oh, how the tables have turned. Marcel and Tisha are absolutely winning. Their businesses are booming. Their marriage, while not perfect, is still going strong, and they're just moving up in life. Meanwhile, Martell's whole world has basically fallen apart. His personal life is in shambles, his business ventures are struggling, and his reputation, Chile, it's in the gutter. So Carlos put Martell on the spot and asked him straight up about Marcel, and Martell's response was so telling. "I'm not rooting for them, but I'm not rooting against them." Now let's be real. If you have to clarify that you're not rooting against someone, that already says everything we need to know.
Martell playing mind games, that's just what he does. Like him showing up here today with these flowers, this smile on his face like Prince Charming, when we all know that he's responsible for all of the stuff happening on social media pertaining to me. That could change people's opinions about me by him giving these false narratives. He's responsible for that.
And that's when things took an absolutely wild turn, because literally no one on that stage was backing Martell up. The reunion wasn't just a moment of reflection, it turned into a full-on intervention, with Martell getting hit with reality check after reality check. The entire cast took turns calling him out, and Melody, she didn't even need to say much. At this point, she's completely exhausted from constantly having to defend herself against Martell and his accusations. Instead of arguing, she just sat there and let the facts speak for themselves. And baby, those facts were not doing Martell any favors. Now, Marcel and Tisha's reaction was particularly interesting. These two usually try to stay neutral and avoid direct confrontation with Martell, but even they couldn't ignore how he was digging himself deeper and deeper into a hole. Marcel made it crystal clear, while he might have had his own issues in the past, he would never have taken things as far as Martell did. And Tisha, she called it exactly like it is. Martell isn't just making bad choices, he's actively choosing to keep making them, even when people are practically begging him to do better. But it wasn't just the cast weighing in. The fans had plenty to say. The support for Melody was absolutely overwhelming, with people praising her strength and how she handled all of Martell's antics. Meanwhile, Martell was getting dragged left and right. Viewers weren't just disappointed, they were done with him. They called him out for constantly playing the victim while being the one stirring up all the drama in the first place. And Carlos? He made his position crystal clear. He didn't sugarcoat anything, and by the time that reunion wrapped up, there was absolutely no doubt about how he really feels about Martell's behavior. Carlos summed it up perfectly. Martell isn't just being reckless, he's completely self-sabotaging. Every single move he makes pushes him further away from any chance of redemption, and the worst part, he knows exactly what he's doing, but instead of fixing it, he just doubles down. One of the biggest takeaways from Carlos's analysis was Martell's complete inability to take responsibility for anything. Every single time he gets a chance to reflect on his actions, he chooses to deflect instead. It's always pointing fingers, playing the blame game, and refusing to acknowledge how he contributed to his own downfall. And Carlos didn't hold back in saying what everyone was already thinking. This goes way beyond just messy reality TV drama. This points to some serious character flaws that are keeping Martell from growing both personally and professionally. At this point, it's not even about Melody, Marcel, or the show anymore. It's about Martell fighting against himself. So what does this mean for his future on Love and Marriage Huntsville? Because if he keeps this up, his days might be numbered. At this point, Martell has burned so many bridges, it's hard to imagine how he could possibly come back from this. He's managed to alienate the entire cast, lose favor with all the fans, and even push Carlos to the point where he had to break his silence and speak out. But the real question is, can Martell ever redeem himself, or has he finally gone too far? What do you guys think? Is there any path forward for Martell, or is this truly the final straw? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned because you know there's always more tea to spill. There's always more tea to spill.